Daniel stood in the doorway, staring at my phone. For a moment, the room was completely silent. My heart was pounding so loudly I felt like he could hear it. Slowly, he walked toward me. Amara, he said calmly, what are you looking at? I didn't know what to say. My throat felt dry, but the fear inside me pushed the words out. I searched the names, I whispered. His face changed instantly. The women in those passports, they're missing. The room suddenly felt colder. Daniel didn't speak for a few seconds. He just kept staring at me. Then he sighed and rubbed his forehead. You weren't supposed to see that, he said quietly. My body froze. What do you mean I wasn't supposed to see that? I asked, my voice shaking. Daniel slowly pulled out a chair and sat down. Then he looked directly at me. Amara, the truth is complicated. Tears filled my eyes. Just tell me the truth, I begged. For a moment, he looked like he was deciding whether to speak or not. Then he began talking. He said the women were real. He said he had indeed helped them leave abusive homes. But he also said that some of them came to this country without proper documents. Because of that, they had to work under people who promised to help them settle. My stomach twisted with fear. What kind of work? I asked slowly. Daniel didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked down at the floor. That silence told me everything I needed to know. My chest felt tight. You brought them here to work for someone, didn't you? I whispered. Daniel looked up again. I didn't have a choice, he said quickly. They needed help. I helped them travel. Someone else helped them survive. My heart sank. Daniel, what about me? I asked. He didn't answer. That was the moment I realized something terrifying. I wasn't just a guest in his house. I was part of the same plan. My body started shaking. Amara, calm down, he said, standing up and moving closer. But I quickly stepped back. Don't come near me. I cried. My mind was racing. I was in a foreign country. I didn't know anyone. And the only person I trusted might have brought me into something dangerous. Daniel tried to speak again. But suddenly, there was a loud knock on the door. Both of us froze. The knock came again. This time louder. Daniel looked toward the door, confused. Then a strong voice shouted from outside. Open the door. Police. My heart nearly stopped. Daniel's face turned pale. And in that moment, I realized something shocking. Someone had reported him. Back in Nigeria, Victor returned home late that evening. The house was quiet. At first, he didn't notice anything unusual. He dropped his bag on the chair and walked into the kitchen, expecting to see Amara preparing dinner like she always did. But the kitchen was empty. Amara, he called out. No answer. He checked the bedroom. The bed was neatly arranged, but she wasn't there. Victor frowned. He assumed she had gone to visit a friend, like she sometimes did after an argument. He shrugged and sat down, turning on the television. But hours passed. Night turned into early morning. Still, Amara didn't come back. For the first time, Victor began to feel uneasy. He picked up his phone and called her number. The phone rang, and then went straight to voicemail. He tried again. The same thing. Victor felt a strange knot forming in his stomach. The next morning, he called one of Amara's friends. Have you seen Amara? He asked. Her friend sounded confused. No, I thought she was with you. Victor's heart began to beat faster. He started checking around the house. That was when he noticed something. Some of Amara's clothes were missing. Her small travel bag was gone. Even some of her documents had disappeared. Victor stood in the middle of the room, trying to understand what was happening. Then it hit him. Amara didn't just go out. She had left. Anger rushed through his body. How dare she, he shouted, kicking a chair across the room. For years, Victor had believed Amara would never leave him. He thought she was too afraid, too weak to walk away. But now the house felt empty, too quiet. Later that day, he called her phone again. This time, it was completely switched off. Victor sat down slowly. For the first time since their marriage, something unfamiliar crept into his mind. Regret. He remembered the nights he shouted at her, the times he hit her, the fear he used to see in her eyes. At the time, he never cared. But now the house that once felt normal suddenly felt cold and lonely. Days turned into weeks. No message, no call, nothing. Victor tried to pretend he didn't care, but the truth was slowly catching up with him. Amara had finally done what he never thought she would do. She escaped, and for the first time in his life, Victor realized something painful. The woman he treated so badly was the same person who once loved him the most. But the question that kept haunting him every night was one he could not answer. Where was Amara now, and would he ever see her again? The loud knock on the door echoed through the apartment again. "Open the door." "Police." Daniel stood frozen in the middle of the living room. His face had turned pale, and for the first time since I met him, he looked truly afraid. My heart was beating so fast I could barely breathe. "Daniel, what is going on?" I whispered, but he didn't answer. The knock came again, this time harder. "Open the door now." Daniel suddenly turned to me. "Listen to me, Amara," he said quickly. "Don't say anything. Let me handle this." Before I could respond, he slowly walked toward the door. My legs felt weak as I stood there, watching. When he opened the door, 2 police officers and a woman in a dark jacket stepped inside. The woman looked around the room carefully. "Daniel Johnson," she asked firmly. "Yes," he replied quietly. "You are under investigation for human trafficking and illegal immigration activities." My body froze. Human trafficking. The words echoed loudly in my head. Daniel quickly shook his head. "That's not true," he said. "You don't understand." But the officers had already stepped forward. One of them noticed me standing near the couch. "Are you okay?" he asked gently. I couldn't even answer. My mind was still trying to process everything. The woman in the jacket then looked directly at me. "Are you Amara Roy?" My eyes widened. "How do you know my name?" I asked weakly. She pulled out a file from her bag. "Because someone contacted us about you." My heart skipped a beat. "Who?" I asked. She paused for a moment. "Your husband." The room went silent. "Victor?" I whispered in disbelief. The woman nodded. He reported that his wife suddenly disappeared and might have been taken out of the country illegally. We started investigating, and Daniel's name came up. I felt dizzy. Back in Nigeria, Victor had reported me missing, and somehow that report had led the police here. Daniel suddenly spoke loudly. "This is ridiculous. I helped her. She asked me to help her." The officers calmly placed handcuffs on him. "You can explain that at the station," one of them said. As they led Daniel toward the door, he turned to look at me. The expression on his face was something I would never forget. It wasn't anger. It wasn't fear. It was disappointment. "Amara, I was trying to help you," he said quietly. Then they took him away. The apartment fell silent again. I sat down slowly, still shaking. The woman from the investigation team sat beside me. "You're safe now," she said softly. But deep inside, I didn't feel safe, because one terrifying question suddenly entered my mind. If Victor had reported me missing, did that mean I would have to go back to Nigeria and face him again? Fearful face, broken heart.